Alright, what's going on, guys? Gamescom opening night live has just concluded, and with it came a whole host of game announcements, many of which are new Souls-like titles. Some long-awaited sequels, some very promising games from new studios, follow-ups to Game of the Year contenders, and a whole lot more. And with how incredible many Souls-like games have been over the last few years, I am absolutely not counting out any new prospects, because it looks like that pattern of banger after banger is only going to keep up throughout 2026 and beyond. A lot of these games are looking absolutely incredible, so we're going to go through every single one that was announced at Gamescom opening night live, break down what we learned, what we know about the games currently, when they're expected, and much more. But of course, as we get started today, if you want to stay up to date on all things Souls-like games, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and now let's get into it. Let's start off today by talking about a familiar face. A game that was announced to be shown at Gamescom, and a lot of people were excited to see. That is, of course, Lords of the Fallen 2, the sequel to the 2023 reboot of the Lords of the Fallen franchise. Now, there are a lot of mixed opinions about that game, but one thing that's for certain is that CI Games has been very dedicated to community feedback, making improvements to the game that people wanted to see. And after the recent Lords of the Fallen 2.0 update, we can certainly assume that the starting point for Lords of the Fallen 2 is going to be a level above. They're promising a faster, a grittier, a more satisfying game, and although we haven't seen gameplay yet, the cinematic trailer was very cool. The story takes place 100 years after the last one, and we are once again playing as the Lamp Bearer. And it also appears, although is not yet 100% confirmed, that the two-world system is returning. It looks like it. And of course, with that being the whole purpose of the lamp itself, it would make sense. Now, I really enjoyed the first Lords of the Fallen game, and I do think the improvements they've made recently made it a whole lot better. And with those lessons learned, I'm really excited for Lords of the Fallen 2. I hope they go the extra mile in the boss fights and the level design. Of course, with all that community feedback, there's a ton of potential here. I especially liked the lore of the first game, and I wanted to see that explored a lot more. So personally, I'm excited to step back into this world. Now, Lords of the Fallen 2 is confirmed for release sometime in 2026, and I think anybody, regardless of your stance on the first game, should be paying attention to this one. But what do you guys think about Lords of the Fallen 2 from the little we've seen so far? Let me know down below. Now, here's a game that really caught me off guard with how interesting it looked. Valor Mortis is a new first-person Souls-like from Lyrical Games and One More Level, the developers of Ghost Runner. The game takes you to a distorted and plague-ridden Europe, where you play as William, a former soldier of the Grand Army, who finds his former comrades corrupted into abominations by the same force that gives him supernatural powers. The setting seems really interesting to me. It's sort of a 19th century alternate history, with the backdrop of the Napoleonic Guard. And we haven't really seen something like this with a Souls-like yet, so it looks really cool. Now, the big question here is obviously the gameplay, because like the setting, it looks like this is trying a lot of new things that haven't been done before. A first-person Souls-like is a concept that I've thought about for a while but never seen actually attempted, in a true Souls-like way. Now, we don't yet know the full extent of that. It looks like there's parries, more so than dodges, and also a lot of gunplay here, which given the setting, I would sure hope so. You've also got powers, such as this fire spell we can see, and we do get a bit of boss combat. Now, when I look at this, one thing I really hope for, and just based on how it looks like it's moving, there could be some pretty in-depth systems going on. But I would really like to see this game succeed, because this concept has me super interested. And I do wonder how far they're going to take that Souls-like inspiration. Obviously, we can see big bosses, but are we going to follow Souls-like level design, brutal difficulty? That's what I'm most curious to see, but only time will tell. So far though, what are you guys thinking about Valor Mortis? There is a playtest coming soon. Gonna try to get my hands on that, and I will let you know how it is, but a release date is planned for 2026, so be on the lookout. The next game I want to talk about is Swords of Legends. Now, this one might not be as true to form Souls-like as some of the others on this list, but it's pretty close and it looks super cool, so I wanted to talk about it. This is coming from Aragon Shanghai and is a new installment in the acclaimed Gujan series. Now, of course, this is a third-person action RPG where you play as an underworld enforcer, a soulless husk, where your mission is to seek out souls who should have gone to the underworld, but refuse to fully cross over. Now, this one leads much more into the action RPG segment. Like I said, it's not a true to form Souls-like, so that means it's going to be very ability-based, and you'll be employing a score of abilities and mystical techniques from the souls you collect. And speaking of souls, we can see a lot of that Souls-like inspiration going on here. We've got very parry-based combat, it looks like, and we get a lot of boss footage going on. And we see a few of these really cool abilities of the protagonist, such as this umbrella that spits out these seeking skulls, summoning swords from the ground to to lock an enemy in place, extending bandages on your arm to act as whips, so we can expect some pretty in-depth combat here. Now, some ways the game differs from your traditional Souls-like that the developer has stated, chief of which being that the game is not going to be that punishing. They're not touting a high difficulty with this one, and the term used to describe the level design here is wide linear. Now, like I said, this game is part of a series. However, the aim with this one is to bring the series more to the West, so we can expect a much more accessible story for starting here, and not needing all the context leading up to it. And ever since I played Black Myth Wukong, I've been on a kick with all these Chinese ARPGs. I'm really loving the medieval China setting, so I definitely think I'll be checking this one out. A release date is not yet stated, so be on the lookout for more information if Swords of Legends looks interesting to you. Another very brief announcement we got was a new game from Jayama Studios, the developers behind Inultria: The Last Song. They're working on a new game called La Divinia Comedia, or The Divine Comedy, which looks to be a Souls-like retelling of Dante's Inferno. Now, we don't yet have hardly any information about this game available, but expect it to be a lot like Inultria. If you enjoyed that game, this will be one to keep your eyes on. Now, perhaps the biggest announcement of the entire show for Souls-like fans, or for me at least, was the announcement of the new game coming from GameScience, the developers of Black Myth Wukong. They presented a short cinematic teaser announcing the development of the next game, Black Myth Zhong Kui. Much like how Black Myth Wukong retold the story of Sun Wukong, their next game will do the same with the legendary figure Zhong Kui. And here is the official blurb describing the game. No ghost walk the earth till born of human heart. On stage and off, immortals fall to fiends, they're perfect at art. Indoors and out, the judge is bound by the same household ties. The sun is veiled, the moon unmoved. Who decrees who lives and who dies? I turn from worldly tangles and their codes, from glory smeared with slight. I raise my sword, I raise it to fight. With it I shall judge wrong and right. Zhong Kui is a Chinese mythological figure, a Taoist deity who's a sort of traditional ghost hunter, banishing the undead. So much like how Wukong was a sort of hunter of Yaoguais, we can expect something similar as the gameplay premise here. And here you can see a traditional depiction of Zhong Kui. But one thing a lot of us are wondering is, well, why didn't we get a sequel to Wukong? And here's what GameScience had to say. Upon completing the journey with the Destined One, we now aspire to take a tentative first step, to build more distinct game experiences, to challenge ourselves with bolder features, and to bring fresh ideas to our world and narrative design. And Zhong Kui came as a natural choice born of that aspiration and other contributing factors. Now, currently Black Myth Zhong Kui is in very early development. There is no gameplay to show yet, so we can expect this several years from now. But given how incredible Black Myth Wukong was, this is absolutely a game I'm going to be keeping up with. But those were all the new Souls-like games announced at Gamescom opening night live. Y'all let me know down below which one are you most excited for, which one looked the most promising, and which ones will you be playing. With all that though, if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to leave a like on it and subscribe if you're new around here, and I will catch you in the next one.